15 years after its original premiere, The Office is still one of the most beloved and most watched shows consistently throughout the last decade still. I mean, even today, it is number 9 in shows on Netflix, and there's so many new shows and so many things to watch. So this show has held up really well. And now that everyone's home at quarantine, this is a perfect show to rewatch, so I figured I'd rank every character from The Office. And I just want to clear something up. I rank these characters based off how I think they perform in their given role. So it's obviously very unfair to put a very small side character that has like very few minutes of screen time, like Moe's in the entire series, next to Michael Scott and compare them fairly. So I just do how they do in the role they're supposed to fill. So main characters could judge as how are they as a main character, and the side characters, if you're a great side character, you can be in the S tier even though you're not as important to the series. And the last thing before we get into this is likes are really important right now on YouTube for helping videos get out there. So if you could just exit full screen real quick, leave a quick like, that'd be really appreciated. And let's get into this ranking. So we're starting off with a bang, and this is Michael Scott. Now, it is impossible to not put him in the S tier. The show is completely different when he leaves. Just an amazing character. The humor that he has and just how awkward he is, but like funny awkward, and just you really feel bad for Michael, but at the same time he is a complete asshole to people at the same time. But this is just one of the funniest characters in TV history, I would argue. I just think he makes his whole show work. Like I said, when he leaves, it is a completely different show and atmosphere. Really carries a lot of the show, and he has to be S tier. But moving right on, we have Oscar here next, and I'm gonna give Oscar a B tier. Now, there's nothing he does that's really bad or great, so I can't really put him much above this, but I think he does compliment some of the characters nice. Even though he has some funny moments, he's mostly the butt of the joke more than making the joke. But his remarks and stuff and his dynamic with the other members of the office, since he's more serious and actually smart and the other ones are just kind of doing whatever they want half the time and so different from him, it does create a good dynamic, and I do think he's a good character. Also, if you think I'm speeding through, some of these I'm going to spend more time with, some of them I'm not going to spend as much, just so this video is not like 2 hours long, because there's a lot of characters here. Next we have David, and I'm going to put David also in the B tier. Now, once again, I think his dynamic with the other characters, like Michael especially, because that's obviously who he has the most communications with, is very good. And I think in the early seasons he is an elite like side character, and like I said, he compliments Michael nicely. But I didn't really like the whole thing when he kind of loses his mind and makes the suck it invention and all that stuff. I didn't think that was the greatest stuff, so kind of holding him back from an A tier, but still has some really great lines and just someone's reactions outside of the office that you can see to how obscure Michael is and the things that Michael says. Next we have Gabe, and I'm sorry to all the Gabe fans out here. F tier, our first one in the F tier. I just do not like this guy. I know he's supposed to kind of be awkward and not fit in. Everybody's not supposed to like him. But it worked too well for me. Like, I hate this guy every time he's on screen. Just feels awkward. Just everything he says is just weird, out of place. I don't know really. I can't even put into words why I dislike him so much. But just a weird character. And the whole him and Aaron thing I thought was really weird. And just an F tier character for me. Moving on to the opposite of that, we have Jim Halpert. S tier easily. Another one of the funniest characters who has just these little quippy remarks and stuff, and his pranks with Dwight, some of the highlights of the show. Another character also that just gives you like the most level-headed point of view of the office, like someone that actually would think like us if we were in the situation. Gives that little bit of awareness that everything that's happening is insane, but there is some sane people working in this office. But obviously the relationship with him and Pan developing is amazing. I think I just said Pan instead of Pam, but we're not going to worry about that. But that's a great relationship, and that whole dynamic with Roy early on. And then as this character goes on, Dwight and Jim definitely save the show once Michael leaves, so thank God for those two. Now we have Kevin, and I know he's kind of a fan favorite for a lot of things, and he does have some very funny moments in the show. Like the chili thing is obviously the biggest example, but I'm honestly just going to put him in a C. Some of the humor just feels a little too forced and just pretty much just fat jokes over and over again, and he is obviously a little on the not so bright side, but I just think there's more potential with this character, but they just kind of treated him as that little comic relief character, even though the whole show's a comedy, and we never really got a deeper side of Kevin, even though it seems like there is more backstory there with his past life, but never really get into it, so just a pretty average character for me. Now moving on, we have Joe. Second F tier character, right with Gabe. They're together in the show here, obviously work together from the same place, and they're both in the F tier here. This is just, I don't know what they were thinking with Joe. Just a character that has some okay moments, but just weird all along. The string of new bosses was just really, it was hit or miss, but 90% miss, I feel like. And I just did not enjoy this at all. Maybe I just couldn't get over the whole Michael leaving, and I liked David before, so maybe I just have a little bit too much hate for Joe, but I have to put her in the F tier. Now moving on, though, we have Phyllis. I'm putting her in a B category because she is a very good side character here. Obviously, she's in like the main cast, but she's not really the focus of any of the stories. But she is like that innocent old lady that you kind of need in the office, and some of the things she says aren't like laugh out loud funny, but they do make you kind of chuckle inside. And like I said, she has a pretty good dynamic with some of the other characters, and like her and Stanley's relationship that grew over just their friendship. So just a good character overall. Honestly, the next character we have here is just a bit tragic. We're just going to name this below F. Let's change the color too while we're at it. We're just going to make this black. Why not? Nelly gets her own tier of being bad. Like the other two characters in F, maybe I disrespected them by saying how much I dislike them. I absolutely hate Nelly. Everything she says, the way she talks, the things she does, everything is just terrible. I don't even want to talk about her anymore. We're moving on. I can't look at this anymore or talk about it. And next we have Charles, and for new bosses, I really appreciated this character. I thought he was well done. It was a perfect dynamic between him and Michael's style. He's kind of the complete opposite, super strict and serious, which pretty much is being a good boss, as Michael was. Obviously had the right things in mind half the time, but the things he did, weren't the best. But Charles, I think, had a great dynamic there with the rest of the characters, and he did have that little bit more of a fun side with the soccer thing, and showed that he had that little edge to him that could make some jokes, and new players, obviously like Jim wasn't really a soccer player and stuff, but wants to mess with him. I think this was a great addition as a new boss, and I think if they kept him and just developed him as a character more, the end of the show would have been greater, but they just kept cycling in and out bosses, and they just sent him out saying he got fired, which I did not like when the whole Saber thing happened. Anyways, you can tell by my character rankings of them, so I think he deserves a lot more. Easy B category. Next we have Clark, aka New Dwight, and I'm putting him in the D category. He doesn't do anything inherently terrible, but this is just like, I know they made a joke about it in the show about them being the new Dwight and Jim, but like, it really is what they were trying to do, and it did not stick at all, and it just felt way too forced. Has some funny moments, him and Pete together, but overall just kind of a bland character that I never really found myself caring about that much. Moving on though, we have Mose, and so Mose, like I said earlier, very little screen time, but I'm gonna put him in the B category because he just adds something to the show. Just shows how weird Dwight's life really is, and you kind of understand why Dwight's the way he is. So like I said, he's a great character on show every time, but not on enough. So I do think he's a good little side character that, like I said, should have got some more screen time. Now we have Hank, the security guard. Now, rest in peace in real life. He died 2 years ago, for those of you who didn't know. But honestly, I'm going to put him in the B category too, because he's just a good character that very little screen time, obviously, but just a lighthearted, wholesome character that had some funny remarks on screen. Not much to really say about him. Next we have Todd Packer though, and Todd, I'm putting him in the D category. Now, even some of his humor can be hilarious actually, and the stuff with Michael, how Michael finds it so funny, is what I like, but when I actually think about this character, I really don't care for him at all, and I really like the actor. I like him in other things, and like the Goldbergs, if you guys know what that is. I think he's really good in other things, but as Todd Packer, I just say D category. He's not like necessarily terrible, but I just think he's a little below average as a character. But I like when they go a little bit deeper, and they never really did Todd Packer. He's just kind of that guy the whole series. Moving on though, we have Stanley. A category easily. Just your classic old guy who just does not care, is not bothered with anything that's happening around him. Has some funny remarks all the time. Always has a little moment in the show that's just amazing, and just how he doesn't react to anything that's happening half the time in the show is part of the greatness of him. Just the perfect side character. This is what it should be. Has the humor, has some little bit weird things happening when there's like the affair thing going on. Funny jokes, like I said, when everybody's hitting on his daughter. So he's just a good character all around. Next we have Holly Flax, which is our female counterpart to Michael, and it is perfectly done where she's like everything that's the best about Michael without all the bad qualities, kind of evens him out a little bit. Their dynamic, of course, is great, and she's just such a nice character who is so innocent, like the whole Kevin situation that happens. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But just a great character. I love how Michael finally got his send-off with someone to be happy with. And like I said, she's a great version of Mike. Pretty much the positives of Michael. So an A tier for easy Holly flags. And then we have Pam. And this is another A tier for me. Like I said, her and Jim's relationship is a great part of the show. And she has some great moments. Like I said, the reactions of Michael are a huge part of this show. So her working with Michael early on is great. And I like her and how they try to expand her character and the whole artsy painting career and going back to school and stuff. I liked all that. Just nothing super special to put in S tier, but she's a great complement character who is kind of like a main character too, but not really the main focus 90% of the time. So A tier character for Pam. Now we have Daryl, another A tier. First of all, the comedy timing for this Daryl is amazing. Every time he comes in, he has some funny remark or quip for somebody. I liked him and Jim's business that they ended up starting up, and just a great little character that helps, like I said, push the story forward, and definitely helps when Michael's gone, because you needed all the great characters you can get. Next we have Roy, and I'm going to put him in the B category. I think they did a pretty good job with Roy, and obviously he's like, you know, not the greatest for Pam in the beginning, but I like how they developed him and showed like that he learned what he had and what he lost, and how his actions really made him lose Pam, and you can see it really takes a toll on him. So I think they did a good job developing him, and a pretty good character. Now we have Dwight though, and this is our third S tier character. Once again, the big three here. Obviously hilarious, just so weird and out there, different from everybody else in the office, that it is just so amusing every time he's on screen. Everything he does is funny, even though obviously the character's not aware he's being funny. The character's being dead serious, but it is some of the funniest moments in the show are due to Dwight. So he's easy S tier. Next we have Angela, Dwight's secret lover and then wife. And I'm going to put her in the D category. I know her whole thing is that she's kind of supposed to be stuck up and annoying, but for that reason, I really don't enjoy this character that much. Like I said, I know that's her whole thing, that's her point. So she's doing a good job of that, but I really just don't enjoy that much as a character. So I have to put it at the D tier for me. Next we have Erin. Now this is kind of the definition of a average character for me. There's nothing she does that's bad, nothing that's amazing. Some of her relationships are weird with Pete and Andy. I felt like we're a little awkward to watch sometimes, but pretty good character who has just the innocence again, kind of that kind of character that really is just out of place in the office, but in a good way. So just an average character, C category there. And next we have Bob Vance from Vance Refrigeration. I'm just going to put him in the C category. Obviously, we barely see him on screen, but he's brought up a little bit. You know, Phyllis' husband. Seems like a good character. Has some okay moments when he's on screen. So, just a C category character for me. Moving on, though, we have Pete. And I'm going to put him in the C. I think he's better than Clark for sure. Has a little bit better jokes and a little bit better relationships with some of the characters in the thing. But like I said, him and the Aaron thing wasn't my favorite in the show. And nothing really great about him either. I still feel these two characters are just forced, so C category for him. Now we have Robert California, who is an amazing actor with just not the greatest role and writing for him. I have to put him in the D category. This weird sex crazed boss that they could have done something with him being like this other weird boss that's kind of weird in a different way than Michael, but I just did not like the direction they went with this like new to sex crazed boss, like I said, and I don't know, I just did not feel great for such a great actor. Wasted potential for sure. Moving on though, we have Karen, and I'm going to put her in the B category. I think she's a pretty good character, and honestly I think it would have been interesting if they made her and Jim end up together as the end of the show. I know nobody else wanted that, but I think it would have been interesting to kind of throw people off, because obviously since the beginning it was building up that Jim and Pam were going to get together. So I think that was a very good relationship in the time, and she had some great moments I think in her run in The Office. So pretty good character here. Wish she stuck around a little bit longer, even if she wasn't with Jim. Just something more to do in the show, but pretty good character. Next we have Kelly, and she's kind of that, you know, again, supposed to be annoying character, and I don't think she's bad at that at all. I think she has some funny moments, and obviously she is smarter than she shows with some of the things she does and mind games she plays. Just an okay character for me though, nothing amazing. Next we have Ryan, and I'm putting Ryan in the A category. Early on is his best stuff, but I still think when he gets the promotion to corporate, I think he's still good. Him and Michael obviously is a great relationship, and the back and forth between him and Mindy between the entire show, I think it's pretty good. I realize they just called her Mindy, that's her actual name, but Kelly, you know what I meant. But I think Ryan is the perfect kind of like side character here. Not side, you know what I mean, just not one of the main like 4 or 5 characters in the show. I think he's a great character who, once again, is very funny and then slowly loses his mind, but very good character. Next we have Meredith, and I'm putting her in the F tier. I just really don't care for Meredith. Once again, I know the characters that I find annoying and stuff are kind of supposed to be annoying and crazy and stuff, but I don't know why, I just do not like Meredith, and she's just an F tier character for me. And now we have a character who is very ominous and mysterious, but amazing at what he does in Creed. I'm putting him at A. Puts a smile on your face every time he's on the screen and just says some random thing that's so out of pocket that you can't even realize. He has no idea like what's actually happening half the time, thinks something completely different is going on, but every time they cut to him for an interview or just him doing something at his desk, it's always entertaining and puts a smile on your face, so easily A tier for me. Moving on, then we have Jan. I'm putting her in the D category. She kind of just annoys me the whole show, and Michael really deserved better. I'm glad they gave him Holly at the end of the show, because her and Michael's relationship was just terrible. Obviously good to watch, like entertaining, but actually if you think about the character, she was just terrible to Michael and terrible to kind of everyone, so D category for her. Next we have Andy Bernard, and I give him an A. Now I think at the very end of the show, when they had him go on the boat trip because he was filming something else and stuff like that, that thing wasn't great, and some of the things with him as a boss wasn't great, but I like when he was very early on and trying to kiss up to Michael, and his relationship as the salesman I thought was very good. Like I said, the boss promotion is the only thing holding him back from S, honestly, because that was just not great, but Andy Bernard had some very great moments, and kind of that guy that is trying to get, you know, up with the boss and like trying to get up in the promotion, but at the same time is kind of goofy on his own and just does some stupid things. Next we have Toby, and I give him in the B category. How can you not feel bad for Toby? Gets bullied by Michael constantly, but just the perfect awkward character. He really just has no idea how to react to the things that is happening and really has no power over Michael or anyone. Very interesting relationship with, you know, him and Michael and stuff, and then obviously the whole thing with Pam. That was one of the most awkward things. But like I said, this is an awkward character done right. He's supposed to be awkward and weird, but it is just so perfectly fitting in this environment. And like you said, you might honestly react in the situation if you were in this office with these people. And finally, at the end of this all, we have D'Angelo, and this is an F tier again. Just another miss at a new boss. Just an awkward character that it seemed like he was going to be like the new Michael type of guy, but he's really just way like Michael turned up to 10 more levels in all the worst ways, and all the best qualities about Michael aren't even there at all. I think they realized this because of how they had him go out with the basketball thing. They realized they had to just get rid of this character. It just was not working with any of the characters. It just did not feel natural at all. So our final ranking here is an F tier. So let me know what you think of my final ranking here. You can just give me your S and F tier, or maybe S and A, because obviously the whole thing's a lot. But just give me your favorites and least favorites. Make sure to leave a like I said earlier. It really helps small channels get out there more. And make sure to check out playlists for more tier lists. I will do any suggestions you give me for any shows if I watch them, or give me suggestions for new shows to watch to do rankings on, and I'll see you in the next one.